إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Dear respected brothers and sisters, today inshallah ta'ala we're going to continue our discussion on our biggest enemy, Iblis, the shaitan. Last time we talked about some of his plots against us and that he's trying to control us from all directions, from the front and the back and the right and the left, and that's called ihtinak. لأحتنكن, as he challenged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How did Allah respond to him? And what are the 5 plots that Iblis uses against us every single day, and how to combat that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about this in Surah Al-Isra in verse 63 and 64. When Iblis said to Allah, I'm going to ahtanikan, I'm going to control completely the children of Adam, his offspring, except for a few of them, Allah said, idhab, do whatever you want, be gone. Just go execute your plan. You're challenging Allah, do whatever. اذهب فمن تبعك منهم فإن جهنم جزاؤكم جزاء موفورا. Be gone. Whoever of them follows you, he will surely be their word for all of you. Their word for all of you is going to be the hellfire. They are going to be combined with you in hellfire. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also accepted the challenge. And he said, قَالَ فَالْحَقُّ وَالْحَقَّ أَقُولُ. I am the absolute truth. Al-Haqqu is one of the names of Allah in Surah Sad. قَالَ فَالْحَقُّ, I am Al-Haqq, I am the truth. I am the Al-Haqq, وَالْحَقَّ أَقُولُ, and I'm telling you the truth. What is the truth? لَأَمْلَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنْكَ وَمِمَّنْ تَبِعَكَ مِنْهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I will make the hellfire full of you and whoever has followed you in the life of this world. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us humans about the 5 plots the shaitan uses against us, and at the end of that ayah, he told us how to combat this and how to protect ourselves from the shaitan. He said, وَاسْتَفْزِزْ مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ مِنْهُمْ. Execute your plan, go ahead. The first thing that the shaitan is going to do against us, number 1 thing is istifzaz. What is istifzaz? One of the things that the shaitan does every single day against us is deception, is to deceive us, is to make us unable to see the reality of things. And that's the biggest problem. Look at this woman, she's so beautiful. And you don't see the reality of things. Her reality compared to our Hur al-Ain, for example, in the Akhirah. Cheat that person. It's okay to take advantage of him and take some of his money, as people do with us every day. It's okay to take some of his money. You can cheat him, it's okay. Everybody's doing it. So everybody's doing it because he's deceiving you. He's making the evil look good to you. You will have more money. But now you're disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't see the reality of what you're doing. By having more money, you're disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's called istifzaz, the delusion, the deception. The second meaning of istifzaz is to annoy you, to come to you from all directions with so many things to make you busy, so many distractions. Like what? I want to pray, but you're watching TV, so that's a distraction. You're watching TV now and it's a prayer time. So what you're supposed to do, especially if you're watching this episode right now and it's a prayer time, please get up and go pray. You're not supposed to finish the episode if you haven't prayed. Prayer is the foundation of your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The shaitan, his istifzaz means is to convince you that watching the episode is better than going to pray. Why? Because it's comfortable. Prayer means I have to stand up, I have to go do wudu, I have to go to the masjid, maybe if I want to pray in jama'ah and it can be cold outside. That's istifzaz. Shaitan does this to you every day. And he gives you a lot of distractions. Distractions like what? You have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, you have WhatsApp, you have YouTube. If you're using all these media platforms to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we're just doing right now, we're doing this right now, using the media platforms to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah accept, Allahumma ameen. That's good for you. But if you're using them to take you away from Allah, watching a lot of nonsense videos, that's what we're talking about here, and that's what Allah called istifzaz. So number one, shaitan does what? Istifzaz. Of the 5 things we're talking about here in this verse, istifzaz. وَاسْتَفْزِزْ مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ مِنْهُمْ. Incite and urge whoever you can of them with your voice. The voice is the noise and the distractions we just talked about. Number 2, the shaitan needs helpers to be able to control us. وَأَجْلِبَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِخَيْلِكَ وَرَجِلِكَ. The Arabs, when they speak about enemies in wars or outside of wars, and you say someone has done jalb against his enemy, this means he's called everyone, all his supporters, and the soldiers, and the horses, and the tanks, and the guns, and swords, and whatever, weapons. And he gathered everything, and he did jalb, he gathered everything to destroy his enemy. So the shaitan basically is doing this. He's not going to do everything by himself. And Rasulullah told us that the shaitan would put his throne on the water, and he would send his soldiers, his shaitans, to people to misguide them. Rasulullah told us that sallallahu alayhi wasallam clearly. And this shaitan will come to him and tell him, you know what? I have misguided him, I have caused him to commit zina, fornication. Shaitan would tell him, that's not enough. And another shaitan will come to him and, you know what? I have been misguiding him until I caused him to steal money from someone. That's not enough. The third one would say, I caused him to kill a person. That's not enough. Until a shaitan would come to Iblis and tell him, while he's in his throne on the water, and tell him, look, I have been misguiding him until I caused him to divorce his wife and destroy his family. Shaitan will be so happy, and he will tell him, Ant, ni'ma ant, you are the chosen one. You're my boy, come next to me. You're my man. Come right here. Sit next to me on my throne. So the shaitan does what? Jalb. Allah said, وَأَجْلِبْ عَلَيْهِمْ بِخَيْلِكَ وَرَجْلِكَ, and assault them with your horses and soldiers. It's like it's a war. It's literally a war between us and the shaitan. It's a war. Don't just take it easy. You have to say adhkar al-sabah al-masa every day to protect yourself from the enemy who doesn't sleep, who knows you more than you know yourself. He knows exactly what you like, and he brings it all the way to you. Number 3, Allah said, وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ, and become their partner in their wealth. I don't care where I earn my money from. All I care about is how much money I make. I don't care about how I make this money. I only care about how much I make. That's what the majority of people do today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. That is basically وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ. The shaitan is your partner in your wealth if you don't care where you make money from. وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ, and become their partner in their kids. What is the meaning of this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bless 2 people with kids, 2 brothers. One brother, what he did with his child is that he sent him to an Islamic school to memorize the Quran, to become a hafiz of al-Quran, and then to become a da'iyah and preach Islam and teach people Islam, and that's what makes him happy. He's now proud of his son because he put him in that way. Another person, all he wants from his kids is to know certain language very well. You know how to speak that language. You know technology. You know how to swim. All these things are good. You're supposed to learn language, technology, swimming. All these things are good. But what about the focus on religion as well? When you compare these 2 kids, on the side of people, majority of people will support the person who did something other than connecting himself to Quran and Islam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appreciates that person who became a hafiz more. So that's basically what the shaitan does. وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَوْلَادِ. The shaitan becomes your partner, your child. He directs you how to raise your child, how to foster him in a way that pleases the shaitan, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Imam al-Tabari, rahimahullah ta'ala, when he explained that, he said, giving your kids names that's not pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of the manifestations of the shaitan being your partner. Helping your kids to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving them too much money and not teaching them what to do with this money. It's another way, another manifestation of how the shaitan is your partner in your kids. So be careful of all these manifestations. Rasulullah even said from day one, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you with a child, and before you have your private, intimate relation with your wife, you should make this dua. Bismillah, Allahumma jannibna shaitan, wa jannib ash-shaytana ma razaqtana. In the name of Allah, O Allah, keep us away from the shaitan and keep him away from us. Rasulullah said, if you said that one dua before your intimacy, Allah is going to protect your son or your daughter, your child from the shaitan, and the shaitan will never harm that child. وَشَارِكُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ. Number 5, وَعِدْهُمْ. Give them empty promises. Give them empty promises. These are 5 things that shaitan does to us. How to combat this? Because we don't have enough time in this episode, I will only mention one step. In the next ayah, Allah said, إِنَّ عِبَادِي لَيْسَ لَكَ عَلَيْهِمْ سُلْطَانٌ. The action item, if you want to combat the shaitan, protect yourself from his evil plans, be a good slave of Allah. Become a good slave of Allah, and Allah is going to protect you. Go to the one who created him. Pray Fajr in Jama'ah. You will be under Allah's protection, as Rasulullah said. Say Adhkar al-Sabah wal-Masa, remembrance in the morning and in the evening. Every day, you will be in Allah's protection, as Rasulullah mentioned. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Have certainty in Allah. وَكَفَى بِرَبِّكَ وَكِيلًا. Have certainty and reliance on Allah, and Allah is sufficient to rely on. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون.